Welcome to the Tip Show. This is a preview of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. So obviously you got the Toronto Maple Leafs. They win the Atlantic for the first time and seemingly forever against the Ottawa Senators, who finally made it back to the playoffs, got into the top wildcard spot, and this should be one of the best series of the entire playoffs. This is 21 years in the making. Since the last time they played. They played 4 times in the span of 5 years in the early 2000s. And it was always super entertaining. Bloodbath, super physical. Both teams got up for it. Just super happy that it's back. And I can't wait to start watching the series, honestly. I think it should be a really, really good one. And it's funny. You got Travis Green, the head coach of Ottawa, who's coming this year, brought them all together, finally put the pieces together, got them back in the playoffs, and he was actually on the Leafs back in the early 2000s when they played the Sens in the playoffs. So now he's the coach on the other side. It's a bit of a funny twist there. And then obviously you got Max Domi, the son of Ty Domi, who was a main piece in Leafs success against Ottawa back in the early 2000s in those series. Definitely really physical force there. So, yeah, hopefully all these guys that kind of grew up watching the series, like Scott Law and Max Domi, Steven Lorentz, Martin, the guys in the Toronto area that play for the Leafs, and then guys in the Sens who grew up in Ottawa, Toronto area. They all grew up watching the series, so they all are fired up. I think Scott Lawton said he was rewatching highlights from the 2004 series just the other day in his free time. Just unbelievable. Doesn't have anything to do with the team now. He's just going back to see the atmosphere, see how it all went, which is, you just love to see that. And I think game 1, there's going to be fireworks. Should be a super exciting game. And yeah, let's break it down a bit more. So the Leafs starter is probably going to be Anthony Stolarz. It's looking like that. He's 8-0 in his last 8 starts, a .950 save percentage, I believe, and he has 3 shutouts in his last 4 games. And over in Ottawa, they got obvious starters, Linus Ullmark, who has a bit of a weird track record. Obviously, in the regular season, 3 years ago, he won the Vezina Trophy when Boston had that insane season. Then kind of followed up with a bit of a stinker in the playoffs, losing to Florida, who eventually turned into be this wagon of team going back-to-back Cup finals. So Ullmark has struggled in the playoffs a bit over his tenure. I know last season on Boston, they put him in for game 2, and that's the only game in the first 4 that the Leafs won. They scored 3 goals against him, got the win, and then Swayman played the rest of the way. So I think it's very fair to say that both goalies have a bit to prove in the playoffs. Stolarz only has 4 starts. Obviously, he was the backup last year in Florida, winning the Cup. He got put into a couple games, played a lot in the regular season this year and last year. And he's proven to be a very dependable goalie. He's a giant, just like Ullmark. So it takes a lot in the net. So I think goaltending is a bit of a coin toss here. I think Ullmark probably gets the edge, though, just given that he's won the Vezina. He's been in the playoffs more. He's started more games. But then for the Leafs, you got Joseph Woll, too, if Stolarz falters. So it's a bit of a win-win there. And then Ottawa, you got Anton Forsberg is the backup. So it's a bit of a downgrade. But you'll make what you will with that. You know, it'll depend on how the teams in front of them play. You know, if the Leafs try to go for a running gun offense, completely ignore everything Bruba's taught them all year, but defense and team defense, it could be pretty bad for Stolarz, make him look bad. But yeah, let's move on to the defense, I guess. So up in Ottawa, you got Sanderson, Zub, Jensen, Shabbat, That's a pretty solid top four. They tried Chikrin in the past. They traded him this summer over to the Washington Capitals. It's been a bit of a win-win, honestly. Chikrin's in the Capital, playing with the Capitals, sorry, and he has 20-plus goals. Then, honestly, the Sens didn't need that. They kind of struggled having Shabbat, Sanderson, and Chikrin, trying to find the perfect ice time for Chikrin, kind of being the third guy there. So they moved on from him to go for a right-handed defensive defenseman. And honestly, it's worked out really well for both teams. The Sens have benefited off that, having a dependable right-handed guy to play alongside Sanderson or Spot. And it's worked out pretty well for the Sens this year. And then you look at Toronto. They got Riley, who's had a really tough year. People have been on him all year. But at the deadline, they brought in Brandon Carlo, big right-hand defenseman, a lot of experience. And since bringing him in, Riley's been looking much better. And then you go down to the second line, if you want to call it that. It's McCabe and Tanev, which is easily the best shutdown D pair the Leafs have had in at least this era of Leafs. Rather than having guys like Luke Schenn and Joel Edmondson and Ilya Lyubushkin, the guys like this, then McCabe and Tanev, two of the top defensemen in the NHL. So just looking at that, you just feel comfortable as a Leaf fan, throwing them out there, shut them down. Everyone knows who Tanev is. And then you go down to the third pair. You got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Simone Benoit, Philip Myers, if he has to be. Yanni Hakanpää might get into games, but he's only played 2 this year because he's basically playing on one leg. So I'd probably give the advantage on the blue line to the Leafs. I think Sanderson is probably the best defenseman in the series, but overall depth, top 6, I'd give the advantage to the Leafs. And then going up to the forward core, I think the Sens probably have more depth than the Leafs. However, the Leafs obviously have much higher star talent. You got Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Nyes coming out of the scene as a 22-year-old. Bobby McMahon, a undrafted player, playing ECHL, made his way up to the NHL. He's been huge for the Leafs. And then you go down the lineup, Domi, Nick Robertson, Scott Lawton, Kyle Yarncrow. They both have really good depth on forward, honestly. And with the Leafs' star power, I think it slightly edges out the Sens. But the Sens are no joke. They got Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux, Jake Batherson, Dylan Cousins, Shane Pinto. They have a really good forward core as well. They have Perron, really Greg. Honestly, it goes on and on. But it's time for my prediction here. I'm going to say the Leafs win the Battle of Ontario in 6 games. So the Leafs beat the Sens 4-2. So Game 6 will be in Ottawa. And I'm just say super excited for the series. I think it should be a very, very passionate series. And I know lots of Leafs fans, lots of Sens fans. So Ontario will be very interesting for the next 2 weeks. And just hopefully we get a really good series. And I expect it to be a very physical, very fast, and honestly, it might be a low scoring, given how good their defense and goaltending could be. So, let me know your prediction down below. And make sure you subscribe and follow the pages, because we got more content just like this coming soon of every series, as well as a final breakdown of my bracket, going through every round, who I got winning the cup. So, make sure you keep your eyes up for that. And, just let me know who you got winning this series.